All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Voice from the Underground, the podcast, the politics and pop culture podcast where I've already fucked up my own line. They are the podcast where politics and pop culture collide. I must be drunk today, though I'm not drinking, so that's a little bit weird. But this is Jason Dutch back with a little impromptu podcast session for you guys here today. And with me today, I have my very good pal from over at the Pop Culture Cosmos podcast, Mr. Gerald Glassford. What's happening, Gerald Glassford?
Not a whole lot right now, my friend, but you and I caught something recently that garnered a lot of attention. Unfortunately for my show, I can't cover it in detail. I can only give like broad strokes. But because it's the political nature and the graphic detail and things that you can only say on your show, because your show covers the more 18 plus end of the spectrum, I thought, you know what? I know Jason's got to see this. I know he's got to give this one a chance. I did give a generic review on Pop Culture Cosmos of Borat 2, but Borat subsequent movie film?
Well, for glorification of Kazakhstan. So, Mikey Famine.
It's an even longer title than that if you want to read the whole thing.
Mikey Famine, yo. Thanks for joining the stream, brother. So, all right, we're going to talk about this movie real quick here. I was not planning on podcasting tonight because I've been podcasting my rear end off lately.
I know the feeling.
I was on the GK Podcast Network yesterday, a Christian podcast, doing a debate. And
did you win?
It's fun. It's weird because like I tried to stay within the time limits, so I don't feel like I lost by any stretch of the imagination. The issue is, and I said this on the podcast, it was on a conservative network, so it doesn't really matter what I say. I'm not going to believe shit that I say anyway. So, just like they won't watch Borat because they know that they're not going to like what they have to see. So now we're going to talk about Borat here. When I saw this, I was like, dude, I got to talk about this movie like immediately. But we're going to play a quick version because we haven't done this with you yet. We're going to play our game of 4 Down Territory with our friend Gerald Hill first. So I'm going to ask you 4 questions. They'll be simple questions. And here we go. So Omaha, 22. 15 said, what? Gerald, first question for you before we get to the movie. Your favorite between the 3, pancakes, French toast, or waffles?
Waffles, all the way.
Okay.
Don't let go of my ego.
Don't Lego. Oh, or you want me to Lego your ego? Because if I don't Lego it,
sorry, Lego my ego. Lego my ego.
If I Lego it, I'll be eating it.
Yes, that's true.
Now, do you like Eggos, or are you or any waffle will do?
Any waffle will do, but someone says boo. Mikey's not liking that. He's probably could be a pancake guy, could be a French toast guy.
He's Antifa though, so
Yeah, sure.
He likes to burn. He likes to burn the pancakes down. But okay, so waffles it is.
Yes.
All right. So, your favorite all-time Saturday morning cartoon?
Oh my gosh, my favorite all-time Saturday morning cartoon. Remember, I go a little bit farther back than you did, so I will probably say Scooby Dooby Doo. Where are you? We need some help from you now. There you go.
So did you watch the new one?
Yeah. What you mean the movie that came out this year? They're also doing a DVD or straight to streaming special one that's coming out like in honor of Halloween.
It was called Scoob, right?
Yeah, Scoob. Yeah, I watched Scoob. It was all right. It was all right. It brings back a lot of the Hanna-Barbera characters that couldn't, be revived in any other way but bringing out on Scooby-Doo. But she calls it Pantifa. There you go. But I will say it was all right. But again, there's nothing that's going to recreate the magic 100% for me than the old 1969 or 1970 Scooby-Doo shows.
I used to love watching those Saturday morning cartoons and then realizing that, like, the guy who I think I think it was Shaggy, the same guy who played Shaggy was the same guy who played Robin in the
He's
Super
also
Front.
well, he's Casey Kasem, the disc jockey.
That was Case Kasem?
That's Casey Kasem. He played
Not
Shaggy
not Case Keenum.
No, Casey Kasem, the guy who did America's Top Countdown,
That's
the top
right.
40 countdown each and every week. That was his voice. Did a great voice, and all that. So yeah, he played that character almost until he died. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So this is I'm not even sure if you're a drinking man, but I'd like to know, what is your favorite beer? Do you like craft beer, domestic beer, imported beer, light beer, dark beer? What is the Gerald Glassford go-to choice for beer?
When I get my hands on one, I'd probably say a Coors. Give me a Coors, and I'm
good. God.
Sorry, man.
Can we just end the stream now?
There you go. Maybe a Bud. Maybe a Bud. Throw a Bud my way up. But yeah, I'm not too much of a drinker. I just, like I said, those days you get a family, you get going right there. You got some teenagers running in the house. You really don't want much of the brew crew on there. But when I get a chance, I'll just, throw a domestic beer my way, and there you go.
Okay. All right. So last question. Since you're into fantasy sports, you are told that you can no longer play fantasy football.
Okay.
You can also no longer play fantasy baseball, because we know those are the top two. Mm-hmm. Which two fantasy sports do you move to make up for the fact that you are no longer allowed legally to play fantasy football or baseball?
Well, along with Inside Sports Fantasy Football, which you've been on several times, and actually were a great part of season 1, and I thank you for it. Mm-hmm. One of the shows I do is the Lakers Fast Break, and seeing how I'm such a huge NBA fan amongst all the sports, and I usually have 6 or 7 teams anyways in fantasy basketball. I would say fantasy basketball is easy transition.
Okay.
And the next would be probably my knowledge of NASCAR. So I'd probably go NASCAR fantasy.
Okay. When you're playing the NASCAR fantasy, does anyone name their team the Confederates?
No, I knew you were going to go there. But no, it's funny because a kid from the West Coast, almost like Jeff Gordon, that came from California and became, interested in NASCAR. But yeah, just for me, is something that I'll do from the West Coast, and I'll stay on the West Coast for that. Yeah, I don't need the Confederate flag, but you know what? I have a good knowledge of sport. It's always one of the things I also watched on Sundays as a kid when I was very young was NASCAR when it was on CBS. So yeah, I still have an affinity to it, for this day. Although I am very thankful that NASCAR has decided to go ahead finally and grow up and be evolved into 2020 and get rid of some things like we've seen with the Confederate flag and some other things over there. So
was that, just curiously, because I don't want to, I know we're going to talk Borat here, but was that an issue? Like when you used to go to NASCAR, was it something that, because the left blows stuff out of proportion sometimes. I've never been to a NASCAR race. Was it something that you saw a lot and made you uncomfortable, or what?
Well, it's something that you're reminded of because NASCAR is so cemented within the realm of the South, even though NASCAR as a whole now in 2020, they have tracks anywhere based from California all the way over to the other side, all the way over to Delaware,
right.
Delaware, Florida, it goes all over.
But it attracts the same ilk of folk.
Yes, for the most part, yes. And you got to also remember that where most of it originated in the South, originated in the dirt tracks in the South, in the southern states and things of that nature. So it has that history. And it draws from it. And, obviously racism was something has been very rampant in that sport for quite some time. It's not been very diverse at all. I mean, you can count almost on one hand, almost the amount of African-American drivers that have actually succeeded and gone to a top level there in NASCAR. And also the same thing with women. And it's just been very limited as far as the diversity is concerned when it comes to NASCAR, and it is very prevalent there. It has been the Dixie flags, the Confederate flags, whatever you want to say, and it's something that you try to tune it out as best you can, but it's very hard to, because it was all over the infield. It was all in the crowds, especially when you're going to the track. They were going to the tracks in the southern area. That's just basically what NASCAR is. It's an unfortunate integral part of their history, whether you like to say it or not. But it is something that I'm extremely thankful of, that they've gotten rid of it, so that they can go ahead and modernize themselves now to take the better step to try and increase the number of diverse, individuals that can go ahead and have a great opportunity to succeed, because it's a very lucrative sport. It makes drivers countless amounts of money with sponsorships and things of that nature. So it should be given a diverse amount of opportunity to all those who wish to go ahead and test their, see how fast they can drive a car.
Right. So I don't want to turn this into a NASCAR show, but I will ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Larson applied to be reinstated. Your thoughts?
I think he was granted that.
Okay.
It all depends. I think he is eligible to.
Has he taken the appropriate steps? Now I looked.
That's what I want to know. I mean, NASCAR set out that he would have to go sensitivity training. The usual stuff that you hear that people take when they say these unfortunate things. Yeah. Is he cured of it? Is he, has he been, has he seen the light? Has he seen the error of his ways? He's going to say that up front. He's going to, but we see all this where somebody says something inappropriate or racial epithet that he said online, and 6 months later, he's now a changed man. I hope he is. But again, it all depends on the type of things that were done, the classes, the training, the actual time that he spent trying to become a better person. Everybody makes mistakes, and we all have to learn from them. And it's up to NASCAR to see through the fact that he is actually a changed individual. Is he? I don't know. I mean, he's going to say and do all the right things, but when it becomes heated, and let's say there's someone of a different ethnicity or a different background, let's say a Hispanic driver or an African-American driver that maybe gets into an accident with him, what is he going to say? Or maybe it's a woman driver. What is he going to say? That's I think the question is, because accidents happen in NASCAR. Mistakes happen in NASCAR at 180 and 190 miles an hour. So I'm curious to see if he'll revert back to the form that we saw, unfortunately, or will it actually be something that he has grown from and is going to be able to be a better person going forward. I'm really I'm not sure. 6 months, it just doesn't do it for me. I think it would have taken more.
I would imagine that, just given the demographic, unfortunately, that he probably wasn't even among the worst.
No, it's not.
The drivers there. So
there's a history of racism in NASCAR. I mean, it's there. It's blatant. Again, its roots are based in the South.
He's just the guy that got caught. I read his statement, and I thought to myself,
this was just iRacing. This happened in iRacing. This didn't happen out on the track. So that should give.
It was during COVID. So I read his statement, and my first thought was, wow, his statement might get him in trouble with the fans, because he's actually acknowledging racism and acknowledging that it's actually real today, and saying that he contributed to it. Now, again, would he say these things if he wasn't caught? Of course not. But he was caught. And his statement, it seemed to me, was one of those things where it'd be like, wow, I would imagine that he'll have some people who were on his team still that might not be on his team now, because of how thoughtful his apology was, even whether he meant it or not.
Yeah, well, he's still finding a team at this point in time. He's a free agent, but he is eligible to be picked up by a team. The thing that bothers me the most is that he's a younger individual. He's a young driver in his mid-20s, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. And he's not this old, grizzled driver who's on his way out. He's someone who could realistically have many years, and probably will have many years in NASCAR to come. And this kind of attitude perpetuates itself. And the thing is, if NASCAR truly wants to become more diverse, it's going to have to keep an eye on individuals such as Kyle Larson and others that have that old school Southern NASCAR mentality, because if they're going to go ahead and keep that attitude going, we're not going to be able to go ahead and see the sport that I truly have enjoyed go forward, advance.
What would you say if Jordan picked him up?
Well, they're picking up Bubba Wallace, but let's say Jordan went to a 2-car team and picked up Kyle Larson, then I think that would be a very telling sign. I think that would be a sign that Michael Jordan and the whole entire team want to be above this and want to try and solve the problem and solve the issue, even though it won't get solved right away, but it's a step in the right direction. But you're not going to go ahead out there. I mean, these teams, one team is hard enough to go ahead and put out there because you need sponsorships. You need a whole lot of financial backing to, put out even a 1-car team that's competitive. And putting out 2 cars, you need more sponsorships and things of that nature. But then again,
Jordan will get sponsorships.
Well, it's not as easy as you think. I mean, yeah, sure, he'll get Nike and some other things, but it's also the fact that you've got these heavy duty teams that are already out there already, and Roush, Joe Gibbs, and so many others that have in field 2, 3, 4-car teams that with tens and tens of millions of dollars already spent in development, things of that nature. So it's very hard for them, but I'm curious to see where they go, and I'm hoping they will get that advantage. But it would be a very telling sign if they fielded a 2-car team and reached out to Kyle Larson to say, you know what, we're going to go ahead and give you a second chance. That would be a very interesting thing. I like that idea. Just to see if if it goes in the right direction.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that, and I'd like to see them put him in the Black Lives Matter car and see if he'd drive it.
I would too. I would very much too.
All right, so let's get to the film. So I guess this is the NASCAR / Borat film. All right, so I watched Borat. Now, first of all, before we get to Borat 2, let's talk just briefly about what were your thoughts on Borat 1. My thoughts are short, so I'll say them before you. I fucking hated it. Like, I did not like Borat. There were some funny scenes in it. It was very Tom Greenish to me. It was outrageous. I couldn't get past all the naked men wrestling with each other and all that stuff. Like, to me, it was just like too gross. So like I only saw it the one time and I never saw it again, and I never had a desire to see it again. Your thoughts on the first Borat one?
Well, it was over the top. It was zany. Like you said, it was crazy, but it just didn't connect with me either. I thought it was all right. But again, for me, it was forgettable because as Borat 2 was coming up, I was trying to, remember Borat 1, and I could only vaguely remember just certain things because it just didn't resonate with me. And it's just something that I didn't connect with. I mean, when I watched Borat 2, things started to click a little bit about, why is he so misogynistic? Why is he so racist? Why is he so anti-Semitic? Oh, yeah, that's right. That all stems up from what he was doing and saying in Borat 1. But for me, absolutely, it was just something that it was there. I was surprised it was such a big hit. It earned over $250 million worldwide on a minuscule budget, which is the absolute best thing for a movie studio to hear. But yeah, something that it didn't resonate with me. So I was not exactly like doing backflips when I heard Borat 2 was finally coming out. I was just saying, you know what? It seems interesting. It's coming to Amazon Prime. I've got Amazon Prime. I just finished The Boys. I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Why not?
Right. Yeah. So,
and I'm sure glad I did. I'll start off with that.
And by the way, I'd love to get your thoughts on The Boys maybe when we're done with this, just briefly. But so let's start with the movie itself. So actually, before we get to the actual Borat movie, let's talk about Borat, the character, in a way, or Sacha Baron Cohen. I love some stuff that he has done. I thought he was hilarious as King Julian in Madagascar. But also it's not called This Is America. That's the Donald Glover song. We Are America. Is that the name of the show?
Something like that. Yeah. There was a Showtime show that was going to run very long. It looked like it got in a second season, and then all of a sudden Showtime pulled the rug out on it and canceled it. So yeah.
Did you watch any of those?
No, I did not get a chance to, unfortunately.
Okay. I did watch those. And those were astonishing. So it plays a little bit into this, well, like what I'm thinking and what people are thinking when they watch this. And I'm like, the things that I mean, this is a guy who was able to get a Georgia state congressperson, not U.S. Congress, but the Georgia Congress, state level, to literally take his pants down and try to bump Borat, who was playing an Israeli soldier, with his butt as a defense mechanism against terrorism.
Yeah.
And the guy started screaming out the N-word in Kyle Larson-esque fashion, except pre Kyle Larson.
That scene actually, I did get wind of. I did see that because it was all over the newspapers and not newspapers, but all over the news sites when it came out. So yeah, it was
crazy stuff.
Yeah, he did some crazy stuff.
Showtime O.J. Simpson.
Yeah,
you know, he got in with, like, he's talked to O.J. Simpson, and he had a girl come in and he goes, "This is O.J. Simpson, the Buffalo Bills," and she's like. He goes, "Oh, this O.J. Simpson, the Naked Gun movie, very funny movie." "Oh, you know, he killed his wife." And, "Oh, yes." And she's like, "Yeah." And then O.J.'s like, oh, that's how she, and he's laughing. And I'm like, oh my God. I mean, just the amount of people that he was able to sucker. Yes. And obviously in this movie, you have possibly the second biggest suckering that he did. I think Giuliani, we'll get to that. Because it's such a huge part of this film, but he did also sucker Dick Cheney. So, you know, that might be bigger than Rudy Giuliani. I'm not sure which, you know, who wins the bigger prize there.
Well, I think the Giuliani deal is going to last longer.
Well, but to the right, it won't even last a day. Let's be honest. The Trump supporters, it won't last a second because they don't care. All right. And that's the thing. But to the one person who might care. So I can't show the movie because this is you know, there's copyrights involved here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share the tab so I can share screenshots. So here are some screenshots. The scene that I will play, I don't know, Gerald, I'm not, I haven't used this technology all that much lately, so you'll have to let me know if you can hear this or not.
I can't, but I'm very familiar with the scene that
right.
He's actually gone through now.
So I that's how I want it. I don't want us to be able to hear it because I don't want it to be looking like we're showing the movie. But there is a clip here where he's talking to a debutante, and he goes into this ball, and this guy here is saying to him, "This is what we like here in the South. We love pretty girls." And he's like, he's talking about how pretty girls are fun. And then he says to this guy right here, and you can notice, all right, because you can see my mouse here, right? So you can see this girl right here not particularly pleased with what's going on here. So I'm going to go back to the screen I was on before here, because this particular scene is something that was a bit troubling to me. He says to this guy here in this scene, he says, how much you think I could get for my daughter? And this guy, as you will see here, he's going to whisper into Borat's ear, and he's going to say, right here, $500. Mm-hmm. And then he's laughing. He thinks it's funny. And the girl, look at her. She says, "That's so fucking gross." Okay, so I started out with that scene for a reason, because it really is just a testament to like the shit that he's able to uncover. And we're going to talk about a few other things about that he uncovered, of just like the way people are in society. And the views that they have, especially when this girl's supposed to be 15. Now we know the actress is actually 25 years old.
24,
years old.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you know, she's not actually that age, but she's playing a 15-year-old. So the perception of everyone is that she's a 15-year-old. Your thoughts on this particular scene? How did this particular scene resonate with you? And I know we're starting in the middle of the movie, so we're gonna do this like Pulp Fiction, where we start in the middle, then go to the beginning, and then go to the end.
We'll start with the scene as a whole. It played out pretty funny as far as it's concerned. I mean, when it comes to the skits that, like you said, the gotcha skits where he gets all these people and as far as it's concerned, for the most part of the movie, are hit and miss. I mean, they really resonate or they don't. But the way this scene ends with the moon dance, so to speak.
Oh my God. That's where it grosses me out.
Well, that actually was, for me, was the best part of the whole scene right there. Was the fact that she is willing to go ahead and be just as far out there as Borat is, and do the things, what it takes to go ahead and get the scene over one or another. Either, like you said, gross you out or make people laugh and their eyes out. And it's just something that she was willing to go ahead that as far as that's concerned, as an actress, this is her debut movie. This is her first time. She competed against, I was looking at a video today, against 600 other ladies to go ahead and compete for this role.
600 other?
600, yes. 600 other contestants for it. And she won out on this role, and she did an incredible job. She is the reason why you want to watch this movie. She is really, really good. And I want to give her props. And hopefully people will come to know the name Maria Bakalova, because she was really, really good. I hope this is not just like this is her career. I know my friend Josh, my co-host on my show, said that I hope this is not her high point already, because this is something that is really, really good. And she was willing to go, and in that scene, she was willing to go that extra mile in order to get the comedy part of it over. And she gets all the credit in the world. She makes that scene work one way or the other. She made it to the point where it grossed you out. So, it worked for you as far as it got a reaction. So, and that she is the main reason why she got that reaction.
Fair enough. Okay. So for me, it's just like, I think of that particular scene as I just can't help but think of the hypocrisy of the Christian right wing, because I don't know. I can't characterize that guy because I don't know. He looked to be somewhat Asian. Can't really tell. And that just goes to show that it doesn't, and I don't care what race he is, frankly, but it goes to show that, that it takes all kinds and anybody can be a jagbag. Yeah. But the thing about the scene is that sort of setting, let's call a spade a spade. If you were to poll that audience, they're going to be right wingers 98% of the time. That's not to say that the 2% of them, 8%, or whatever it is, that are going to be liberals would be any better people. But you're talking about a group of people who, especially in the South, I think that's a fair estimate. But you're talking about a group of people that literally believe that Joe Biden, as leader of the Democratic Party, is overlooking a movement that literally drinks the blood of children. Like, I think it's like 26% believe that is possibly true. I think that's the way that they phrase it in this survey that I saw. Like, they literally believe that, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not all true, but part of it's probably true. That is like mental, to believe that 26% of the Republican Party literally thinks that Hillary Clinton bathes in and or drinks the blood of children. I don't like Hillary Clinton. I can't stand her. I didn't vote for her.
Don't forget the cabal. Don't forget the cabal.
I mean, it's like the Court of Owls from Gotham City, except worse. And they literally are open to the idea that this is probably mostly, at least somewhat true. I think it was something like 25% who are like, no, it's completely fake, of conservatives. That's a astonishingly low number. Yet, why do I say all that? Because this guy, who I think the propensity would show, I can't prove it, but the propensity would show, is going to fall on that side of the aisle, thinks that his 15-year-old daughter is worth $500, and then thinks it's funny. And the other guy too, oh, we love them in the South like that. That's what we love, beautiful women, beautiful young women. It's just disturbing. Now, I understand old guys can be perverts. I get it. But that is astonishingly concerning to me. So let's move to the beginning of the movie. So the movie starts with him getting in trouble with his country. He's in like a slave camp, a boot camp, a labor camp. And they come and they get him and they say, hey, we're going to give you a chance to go back to America and give and because we now have this horrible dictator out of office that we're looking at on the screen here in Barack Obama, and we have a brand new savior in Donald Trump. They want to give him a gift, and the gift they want to give him is to Mike Pence is a monkey. She stows away in the crate and eats the monkey. Okay, because he didn't even know he had a daughter. He met her earlier in the day. She's been chained, as are all women in town, chained up inside of a cage. And his sons basically turn their backs on him. So she stows away in order to spend time with her father. And again, eats this monkey. So they get into the United States. At that point in time, after he realizes that he's going to have to keep her because he now has to have a gift to give to Mike Pence, and the monkey is gone, that he's kind of stuck with keeping her and gets permission from the ambassador in Kazakhstan to be able to give his daughter away rather than the monkey. So he goes in, he gets himself a cell phone here from his friend Brian, who teaches him how to use a cell phone. And he actually looks up a porn site and realizes that he can watch porn on his phone.
He goes to the bathroom.
He goes into the bathroom. So your thoughts on just the beginning of the movie up until about the Brian part? What was your? I love this Brian guy. He's like, the part of me thinks, okay, he's got to be in on it. But then just the look on his face, you're like, no, I don't think he is. So for him, and then also I think the guy at the UPS store, the fax guy, your thoughts on his interactions with those guys? Did they know? Were they in on it? Are they suspecting? Are they actors? Or do you think that they're just guys that he came across?
Well, I don't know if they're actors or not per se, but they may have been, and I'm sure that at some point they were alerted by producers or even Sacha Baron Cohen himself that that they were in, to get in. And I don't think you can be that that committed to the role, especially Brian, who plays a key role at the end of the movie, not be in on it in some form or fashion, or the fax guy, who was someone that Sasha kept on going back to. At some point in time, you're got to be telling yourself, I understand that he may have recorded all the scenes in one day, but yeah, it's just something that I think that to some extent they were in. I don't think that. I think they're just regular people per se, but they were something knowledgeable. I will say, my friend, that for me, this movie clicks in two different ways. The scenes where he's with regular people and those gotcha scenes are hit and miss. Like I said, they really work or they really don't, or they're over top or maybe over the line in some cases. There's a scene in the Jewish synagogue, which I thought was over the line. I think if you want to touch on that later on, I think the scenes from his home country of Kazakhstan, both in the beginning and the end, really bookend the film really nice. They are hilarious. I love the fact that it's all fictionalized. They have these all crazy, zany, backwards ideas that it's just so ludicrous and out there. But, it's just something that it was so funny to go ahead and see how outrageous it was. I got reminded of it. And for me to get reminded of how out there Borat was, even though I didn't really, the first film didn't resonate with me. That's what made it was so enjoyable. And parts of it, this beginning and the end, when he's in Kazakhstan. But yeah, when he's going and introducing himself to Brian, you see the skits and he says, okay, and now that I know how to use Google,
yeah.
he walks into the restroom and learns how to use it in an interesting fashion. And it's still flashing on the big screen right in front of Brian right there, exactly what he's doing. That's kind of funny and all that. And again, it's a hit or miss type scenario, but yeah, it's crazy how he got all these people, whether or not they were willing, whether or not they were coerced, whether or not they were led on or full on deceived, to what level and what extent. But he does it with such a mastery for the most part. It's truly, it's truly a credit to him and the entire staff to see how they can go ahead and interact, because some of the most important people in the movie are not actors and never will be.
So what were your thoughts on just, well, actually, I'm not going to ask you that now, but because we'll stick with the movie, but I do want you to pay attention as we go through this to just some of these costumes, because I'll ask you later on in the show, like, which ones were the ones that were your favorites and like what you thought of these costumes. Because these costumes are outrageous, but some of them are like, you just gotta, when you look at them, you're like, okay, how does somebody not realize that's a person who is up to some sort of shenanigans when you see something like that. So we'll talk about that in a bit. So again, this is the crate he's bringing in. His daughter then pops out of the crate, and he goes into the UPS store. There's the daughter popping out of the crate. He goes into the UPS store and he meets our other friend here, who we just talked about a second ago. This guy here in the corner, he is also just like the guy working at a shop, just like Brian was, and is transferring messages back and forth. He's texting by fax, which I found hilarious.
Yeah.
So
it's just so funny how they're, like you said, they're using it like text back and forth, and with the unhappy faces, the full page of unhappy faces and the threats of death and all that if he doesn't go ahead and complete some type of mission. And obviously, since the monkey got eaten, you can't go ahead and give it to Mike Pence. So they come up with another plan to give his daughter away to Mike Pence, and which is, again, if you watch the actual title, the long extended title pretty much tells you the synopsis of what they're trying to do for most of the film. And then it shifts to another individual, which obviously has become a controversial scene in and of itself. But yeah, it's just, like you said, when he goes and he purchases things and all that, and then the price comes up and he wants to, and how he negotiates and wants to put it back, but she doesn't want to because he's, we're talking about buying a cage.
Yeah. And that's the scene we're looking at here. So
yeah,
the funny thing is he's like, he tells this guy, so what type of cage should I get for my daughter to live in? The guy, these people, they like pause for a second. And they're like, this is odd. But then they go ahead
and finish it.
And they make the sale.
Just like the cake maker.
Yeah, the cake. Yeah, the cake. That one.
The same thing, though.
Yeah, that's going to happen in a second here. We'll talk about that one in a second here. But that one was actually one of the more astonishing. I mean, yeah. We'll get to that one here in a sec. Let's scroll through real quick here. This I found hilarious was the Donald Trump.
The Melania video.
Yeah, I'm gonna play this real quick. This was hilarious. It was the Donald Trump, and he goes and this is obviously Beauty or Cinderella,
yeah,
right? And
but this is
she's watching this cartoon.
Yeah, she was given to this as a DVD to watch, or as a videotape to watch.
Yeah.
And
well, she's going to be certified in VCR repair. Remember,
that is correct. Yes, that's correct. So,
and then he takes her to meet this young lady here, who is the, I don't know what you called her. Tell us about. She's a social
media influencer of some type.
Who is into marrying old guys about to die.
Yes.
And she teaches his daughter how that it's not important.
Because she hears
it's not important to be like what is important in a relationship, and it's like exactly what I would not teach my daughter.
Yes, exactly. Same here, and I've got two of them. So it is something that he teaches the exact opposite. But that's the whole gag, is how far backwards Kazakhstan and their way of life.
But she's not in on any gag.
No,
she thinks this is real.
Yeah. And then because they read an article because they're switching to, wasn't it by this time that they're switching to Giuliani as far as Giuliani's preference for a certain type of woman. And so I guess they go to her for advice on this certain type of woman. And you're on mute.
Oh, you're yeah, I am on mute. I don't think they've done that yet because they haven't gone to CPAC yet.
So, that's right. Yeah.
So CPAC, the CPAC.
This is when she gets her makeover. That's right. This is just before she gets her makeover. And one of the great scene, and this has actually been shown on broadcast television. This scene right here, I love the who they're modeling it after.
Yeah, and they're playing "I'm Coming Out" in the background. But she goes in and she
gets her hair done. Yes, but who are they modeling after?
And she pulls her pants up and says, and she's like, "No, not that hair."
Yes, not that hair, but it's still something. That,
you know what? If this is a pop culture reference, I'm not getting it. So
okay.
So you're the pop culture cosmos king.
So basically, she's getting her hair done. She's getting a makeover to look incredible and all that, so that she can win over Mike Pence. Mm-hmm. And as she's getting she's got her hair dyed blonde and whatnot. And the hairdresser's asking who exactly is she? Are they modeling this after? And he shows him. He shows the hairdresser. That's what Borat does. Borat shows her a picture of Dwayne the bounty hunter, Dog Chapman.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes,
that's
Dog the bounty hunter Chapman with his long blonde hair, and she has to inform him, sir, that's a man. So and he's telling back to her like she can't believe he can't believe that that's a man. You really, so that it was a picture. Yeah, just the timing of it. I had that part I had to laugh on. So yeah, it was funny.
And again, just the outfit is outrageous. So let's get to some of the more.
Just a heads up, you got me for a half hour more.
No problem at all. So. Then it starts to get. Now this is actually one of the parts of the movie that I thought was interesting, where he's walking around with her on a leash.
Yes,
and then he realizes that, and she's talking him into the fact, hey, they're going to know you're fake if you don't hold hands with me. So then they start holding hands and they start walking around together.
He's got the plastic bag over his hand.
And they have this moment where they start skipping together. Yeah, and at first he doesn't want to touch her. So this moment here is actually sort of like a scripted movie moment, obviously, but he's starting to care for his daughter at this point in time. So what relevance does this have to the whole story?
Well, again, that's one of the reasons why this movie is really, really good. And in a year of movies that have come out that have not been so good, this is not a great year of movie. This will never go down as a great year for movies, but this could be one of the best movies of the year. And not just because of any out loud laughs or the gags or the controversy behind it. It's because of the fact this actually, in all of this, does something better than what it does in Borat, is tell a story. Like you said, from him just totally loathing the sight of his daughter to all of a sudden developing that relationship with his daughter. And you see it burgeoning right there in that scene. And to see him change because of it. And to see it's all predicated off of her performance. And again, she is truly outstanding in her role playing his daughter. And credit the relationship and credit the on-screen chemistry that those two have as far as her turning around, because she becomes more idealistic, more understanding of feminism, women's rights, and the whole nine yards. She becomes more cognizant of that and wants to emulate that. And he eventually becomes more a dad because of it, simply because of it. And it's just,
Right.
it's really good to see. That is one of the reasons why this movie is so good, is because in the middle of all the stuff that it wants to say, all the messages that it wants to give, it gives a great message about the bonding between a father and daughter and how that should not be overlooked.
Yeah, and I think the evolution of his character from a Jew hating woman. I don't know if he's woman hating, but he
Oh, I know
thinks
he's woman hating. There were some
I think
scenes in the trailer. Well, let me say this. There are scenes in the trailer, like the one where he put his daughter on top of the truck and he gets pulled over and the police are asking, why does he have his daughter on top of the trucks? He said, yeah, it's like, what was it? Bears and women, something like that. Just something really derogatory, misogynistic. He actually loathed as far as women is concerned. And that's the way the picture is.
And the reason why I'm not using the word hate here is because culturally speaking, from his fictional culture, that wouldn't be looked at as hate. It would be looked at as just the status of women in general, which is a hateful thing. Yeah. But it's like women are equal to an animal. And that's
the way it's portrayed by that fictionalized Kazakhstan.
Right. Yes. Which is unfortunately sort of how things were in antiquity, Middle Ages, biblical
there's still
times.
Some countries that have some unfortunate ideas even to this day. There's some areas of this world that still are backwards in that ways, even to this day.
And this is someone who obviously comes from obviously a parodied version of that, maybe an over dramatized version of that. But it still speaks to the fact that, you know, look how he's all the way to the right and he's slowly coming into modern. He's basically a medieval guy who's waking up to modern society, which is has some parallels to society today in a lot of aspects. So let's move on to the next part about this. I think that the next part of this film that really made me laugh was this part. Okay.
Yes.
So she goes in. Actually, I skipped the part about the cake. So we'll have to circle back to that.
We can just go ahead and mention
the cake.
You could just. I'll mention the cake real quickly as you're scrolling back there. He goes to have a cake made for Mike Pence,
right?
And you know, it's a very anti-Semitic message, and she, we talked about earlier, she pauses for a second. Actually, I'm not sure if she really paused that much. She just basically said, okay, and she put the anti-Semitic message right there on it, as you're displaying it right there on the screen.
Yeah.
And she basically did it without even skipping a beat, and put happy faces and all that. And I think obviously the message is clear. That there's still hatred out there. It's prevalent.
Put the happy face on there too.
Yeah.
I want them to be happy.
It's just, again, it's just the ridiculousness of it, and the fact that it made this individual. I mean, it speaks volumes about that individual in and of itself, and it's. I think it would have topped it all if there was something that was maybe because if you talk about going back to the cake maker and obviously the court cases that came from as far as the gay marriage and things of that nature.
He won't make a cake for gay people.
Yeah,
but this woman will happily write, "The Jews will not replace us," on the top of a cake. And I think the thing that is the most important to point out, like you alluded to before, is that when he says to her what he wants on the cake,
because he said it very slowly and carefully.
Yeah, there really isn't a moment of like, "Are you sure that that's what you want?"
Didn't skip a beat.
Yeah, so she's either ignorant beyond, like, she doesn't understand what that means. We have to be open to that plausible read.
This is true.
But the propensity, again, the likely conclusion is
the betting
that
money the betting line, as they say.
Betting money is it's not, to her, it's not an offensive statement.
Yeah.
And for that, and again, when you look at where this is taking place and the voting mentality of the people who are in this particular area and the people that he's coming across, it's not particularly astonishing based on what we see and what we talk about all the time. And they always say, well, oh no, it's the Democrats that are racist. The Republicans aren't racist. We're colorblind. We love Israel. We love the Jewish people. We support Israel like you wouldn't believe. And I mean, again, this is way off to the right, way off over the top. It's over parodied, you know.
Well, but then he goes, it goes into, like I said, a scene at a synagogue where, to me, it stepped a little bit over the line, where he finds out the Holocaust is real and is so happy after finding out the Holocaust is real. And that I thought was over the line. I think that part, I thought, for me, was kind of like, I think that was just maybe going a step too far.
Well, we'll talk about that one next. Before we get to that one, though, let's talk about this part. Now, this part made me, I thought it was a little bit forced, because obviously, you know, she swallowed a little toy, and, you know, so we got the joke.
Baby. She swallowed a baby.
So we got the joke. This guy obviously doesn't get the joke. So I'm not sure that this guy really did anything particular that was all that unsettling, except for the fact that he doesn't, like, all right, so what would you expect the reaction to be when he finds out that they're father and daughter, and he's under the impression that he got his daughter pregnant
and that they want an abortion?
Yeah, and his focus is on the baby.
Yeah.
Which I can't, that's what he's there to do. That's his job. I get it. Right. I get that. Right. I don't think people who are pro-life are bad people in any way, shape, or form. I completely respect your right to be pro-life. I posted something earlier on our Facebook page today about that. I think it's a transactional thing where, hey, you know what? You can choose to do that, but you're making a transaction, and that transaction is what you're buying with that transaction for that pro-life vote is a lot of other negative stuff, and a lot of and a lot of hypocrisy on hundreds of other verses. But nonetheless, you know, I get he's there to convince this young lady not to have an abortion. I understand that. But if it were me, I would like try to do something for the safety of this girl, if this is actually something that he's believing is going on here. So either he's kind of realizing that this is kind of I'm not sure. I want to hope that he believed that it wasn't real, but I don't know. What is your thought?
Well, that's one thing. I think that's why he hesitates, and there's a lot of silence in this scene from him, is because he's trying to process what's going on. Yeah. And trying to understand everything that's going on. He asked the questions that I guess someone of his nature and someone of his position would be doing. And in doing so, he finds out in broad strokes what's going on. And of course, it's meant to be broad strokes painted by Maria and also Sasha in order to insinuate something that's not actually happened. So he's trying to figure it out. But I think you can tell he's trying to, they didn't go with the scene too long after he starts to go ahead and start pausing, because I think they realized from there, it was going to go fall flat. So, you know, he basically, they just cut it short because they realized that he might've been said something, you know, he might've been thinking or might've sensed something that was left out in post that said, you know what, I'm on to you guys, or something's fishy, something's, you know, just please leave. Something's not working right here. Something's not, you know, he might have caught on
they
that.
Edited it, so you don't know, you know, obviously Sacha Baron Cohen has the privilege of knowing exactly what happened. And we're seeing a reality show edited version of it. So, you know, I understand that. So we can't necessarily always trust his editing, because we know that
especially in the Giuliani scene. I know Hollywood Reporter said it sounded like there was a lot of audio editing that was played around with in that scene. So we don't know one way or the other. I mean, there's a lot of insinuation there. And I know you want to hit that last, and we'll
get to that one last, because that's the one. But
you're right. It's not everything is in this movie is going to be as it seems. People need to take this for comedy. It just need to not really. That's why you need to just you should not see this movie if you're going to be looking at it from the right or left. You should just go into it saying, you know what, I want to be entertained. If you're looking at it that standpoint, then you're going to probably get entertained at some point in time during the film. If you're looking at it from the right, like you said, the people on the right are going to be incensed about this film. The people on the left may be cheering about this film, but see it as a film first and foremost. And maybe that's the way that's probably the best way you'll get the
I think you're asking way too much of people.
I'm just telling you how I approached it. I mean, maybe as someone who is not affiliated with a political party, right or left, as far as it's concerned, because I'm not affiliated when I go ahead to the polls and things of that nature, that maybe I'm able to go ahead and see it from that perspective a lot clearer. And that's the way I look at it. Plus, I try to look at movies with as kind of a fresh slate as I can. But yeah, if you see this as a Trumper, you're going to be incensed, and it's something that you're going to be just angry about, and you want to kill Sacha Baron Cohen. But if you're seeing this from the left, and you're watching it and you're laughing your ass off, and you want to go ahead and give Sacha Baron Cohen a high five. So, I saw it as someone who tried to see it as entertainment and entertainment only. From that standpoint, I was highly entertained for the most part.
The Mike Pence scene here, obviously he actually got into CPAC.
Yes.
And I do not recall this being a big deal at the time. I do remember that hearing a story that Sacha Baron Cohen was
I remember more the
out of CPAC or something, but
I remember more the Giuliani story as far
the Giuliani one. I definitely remember because they went out and tweeted that he foiled the scheme.
Yeah, something like that.
So, which obviously is untrue.
You got to see the film. But
so you have to see the film to see that. I can't play the audio for you. You're going to go watch the movie. Okay. So watch the movie. Hopefully you've watched it already. Otherwise, we've totally spoiled it and everything. But it says spoiler at the bottom of your screen. So the CPAC part, I thought was pretty astonishing that he actually got into there. That
I'm not, because he seems to get anywhere.
He gets wherever he wants. It's crazy.
Well, a week before the super spreader event that I know you've covered on your show already, that you realized that Maria was let in by OAN. OAN guested her in without getting a test or anything right into the White House. So she was in the White House with doing that a week before the super spreader event. So, I mean, he gets anywhere. He can get. He's a master of disguise and can get anywhere under any circumstances.
It's kind of a little bit scary. All right, so briefly, we're going to shotgun through a couple things. The plastic surgeon. He had a moment where I laughed my ass off too. Two disturbing moments here. One.
Well, this is after he fails in his attempt to go ahead and gift his daughter to Mike Pence. Let's just
right. This is it. Right. He fails for Mike Pence and finds out Giuliani likes big boobies. So he goes and brings his daughter to a plastic surgeon.
Yes.
And he says, the girl asks him point blank, would you sleep with me?
I think it was make sexy.
Make sexy time with me.
Yes.
And he goes, well, if your father wasn't here. And I'm like,
yeah, I know that's
what? This is a guy that women are trusting to have his hands on their boobs.
It's awful, man. It's
while
awful.
They're asleep.
He brings the worst out in people. I tell you.
Oh my God! And then the other crazy part is that they say it's going to be $12,000 and something.
No, 20,000 and 21.
He's short by $72 in cash, no credit card fees.
Yeah, he pulls out his bag, pays in ones.
Yeah. And what does she tell him?
You're $72 short.
Wow.
Yes.
So you would think that they would say, don't worry about it. $72. If you were going to swipe a credit card, we'd have to pay a 3% fee.
Yeah.
So you can't give the guy a 70. If that is the mentality of the medical institution in this country, and it is, and then you wonder why I support a universal healthcare system, or at least something resembling that. Now, obviously, plastic surgery would not be covered under that, but nonetheless, it goes to show the greed. I mean, $70 out of 20 something $1,000.
So he has to give the world's worst haircut the next day in order to get it. But I want to, before you go on, there's something in this scene in this whole part where she's counting out the money. The lady's counting out the money, and the fact is they're sitting on the couch and they're talking about their relationship. And this is where you see more bonding. This is where you see a crucial point that if you miss it, you're going to overlook one of the most important points of the movie. Is where they're talking about, right there. And of all places to have it, you're having it at a plastic surgery center, which is obviously funny in and of itself. One of the most important conversations in the movie, and they're having it at a plastic surgery center like it's nothing. And again, it's so funny.
She did such a good job. Really,
she is incredible at this. I mean, everybody's raving about her performance.
Want to be like Melania.
Yeah, and it is to do the things that they do. And at the point in time, that's why this movie works so much better for me than Borat did, is because you're trying to communicate within all the framework of all this stuff. Because I was expecting 2 hours of gag, gotcha gag, gotcha gag, gotcha gag, gotcha gag all the way through. And I found myself more involved with the story and where they're trying to tell and communicate the story at, from a cage, from the field, from a center right there. It was plastic surgery center, and all the different places that they had it, that you would not normally have these type of father-daughter relationship conversations. That's what makes this movie so special. And that's why it's something that, again, if you watch it as entertainment, it is something worth to watch.
Okay. So one last thing before we get to Giuliani, the only actual, well, maybe Brian, I like Brian, but
Brian's probably going to be a superstar.
Yeah. The only actual human being in this movie with any sort of rational advice for anyone is the babysitter.
Yep.
So first of all, I laughed my ass off when he's taking his 15-year-old daughter to a babysitter. But this woman,
and the ball and chain. Don't forget the ball and chain.
Yeah, the ball and chain. And like, she's the only one who confronts anything. You had, and astonishingly so, she's the only African American in the whole freaking movie. Okay. And it's like, this is the only person who spoke up even to the slightest about anything that was controversial. I leave Brian out of that because Brian didn't really see anything controversial. Neither did the facts guy.
Well, I want to go ahead and touch on this real quick.
Yeah. So talk about this.
Well, she is, again, one of the.
Is she an actress, do you think, or is she?
I don't know. Again, see that it blurs. The line is so blurred when it comes to the individuals that they meet in this film.
I'll tell you what someone who would say. I'm going to tell you what if I were a right winger who is a big Trump supporter, I would watch this movie and I would think they hired her because they wanted a black woman to be the reasonable one. I can't say that's impossible, but because we don't know with any of this.
But the movie sets itself up like that. And the movie sets itself up perfectly for her to be the hero, to straighten out Maria's character, to straighten out, and set Maria's character on her way. I do want to say that's one of the one of the slight faults of this film is because this takes place in 2020, because they talk so much about coronavirus, they talk so much about Trump, they talk so much about politics, the division, and they touch a little bit on racism as well, that I wish they would have done something in regards to the other major part of 2020, and that's the Black Lives Matter movement, as far as maybe Borat showing up at let's just say you and I were writing it, we're showing up at one of the demonstrations and saying or doing something crazy that ends up him getting chased after or running or is fearing for his life or something crazy, something Borat would do in the middle of that type of context. I think that was missing, because you should always try to go ahead and include that, because people are going to look back on this film as a synopsis of the year 2020. And in order to do so, you should not forget how important the Black Lives Movement and the demonstrations and how much of a focal point they should be for this country and for 2020 as a whole. And I think that was only, for me, the most glaring omission as far as them not really delving into that issue at all. I mean, they delved into racism. They delved a little bit into racism. Mostly it was more anti-Semitism than racism, but they should have also dealt into that issue as well. Just an extra 10 minutes. I think I'll
agree with that.
Yeah.
I'll agree with that, because he could have done something where he was scared, or like,
or he was running for his life, or maybe accidentally got himself in the middle of, let's say, the people looting, and all that. And let's say himself got caught or right in the middle of getting one of the buildings that was looted. And, maybe the sheriff thinks he might have looted the building or something.
If it's organic, though, if it's organic and it's all in the same place, because it seemed like it was in like 2 or 3 different places. Yeah. And he was following around, he went to CPAC, and he obviously went to see Giuliani, which I'm guessing was either in Washington or New York. If it's truly organic, maybe he didn't come across one. But if it's staged, and obviously this was filmed over quite a bit of time, and I'm guessing it almost seems to me like he might have gone to like 5 cake people before they found a cake person who did that, and we would never know. We'd only see the one, right? Yeah. But still, the fact that he found the one, is still a problem. It's still a problem. Yeah. You talked about this scene, so I mean, obviously, you thought this went a little bit too far, but he's totally going perfectly into the trope of Jews, as he's got the bag.
He came in as a devil. He goes to the synagogue as a devil.
Yeah, he's got the devil horns on, or the wings on his back. He's carrying the money bag. He's got the nose, and then these ladies just eat with him. Yeah,
they take him in under their wing, and they speak good things, and the
compassion of these ladies, and like, again, assuming this is organic and real.
Yes.
It's astonishing.
And again, that's the point of the movie. You have to assume, you're trying to ask yourself, is this real? Is this not real? How much of this is staged and whatnot? But again, I thought that the ending of the scene because he's, the people from Kazakhstan don't believe that the fictionalized country of Kazakhstan don't believe the Holocaust existed. And it's led to very anti-Semitic tones and actions, as you see in that scene. And, he comes out of there finding out that the Holocaust was real, and he started shouting and being so happy about it. I thought that went over the line. I thought that was a little bit too much. I thought, that was one of the scenes where I think if you go back and maybe say, you know what, I think we need to go ahead and to have maybe not added that in there, I think that would probably have been one for me.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't need to be.
He was excited about that. Like, you see him here, he's so happy that he just learned.
Yeah, that the Holocaust was real. Yeah, it was just. Right. It's just. I think that was over it. It takes a lot for me to say that, as far as over the line, and I think that kind of did it. So.
Okay, so one of my favorite parts, and Giuliani is next, I promise. One of my favorite parts is the 2 dudes that he meets. So these 2 guys, man. And now, first of all, I will say this. He meets this guy, the guy on the right.
Because it's a lockdown. It's a
lockdown. And the guy brings him home with him. I'm wondering how long he lived with these guys. If these guys, again, are actors or not, I don't know. It appears to me.
He said very kind things in interviews about them, I would say, as far as, even though they are very alt-right and believe QAnon and all that he said that they were actually really good people as far as his concern. That's what he said in an interview. He said as far as individuals, as far as them bringing into his home and acting kind and helping him, feeding him and things of that nature, he was very taken aback about their hospitality in that sense. Now, mind you, that they still believe about QAnon and the whole 9 yards.
Right.
I'll leave that up to you as far as what you think.
Well, those people are deceived. Let's be honest. Okay. QAnon people are deceived. They are being fed a line of baloney. QAnon is 99.2% false. But they believe it's, like I said before, these guys, because it fits their worldview. But I was like, man, what type of person brings in someone off the street? Now, maybe if he wasn't white, would he have brought him in? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a fair thing to point out. But nonetheless, it's still, I wouldn't have fucking let the guy come home with me, regardless of what fucking color he was.
Yeah.
These guy's obviously a better guy than I am, but he lives in this house with these two dudes, right? And they teach him to sing a song, which he'll use brilliantly later, much in very similar fashion to Step Brothers, where he's sing, they go up on the stage and he's singing at the end. But they teach him a song. It's like about Obama. He hates America, et cetera, and we'll show in a second. But so he did. You said that he learned about these guys and he talked about these guys in an interview. I have not seen that. So
he did with Good Morning America.
Okay.
So he said that, that's the thing he wanted to communicate, that, I don't want to go into Donald Trump. They're, good on both sides and all that. That's, Donald, that's my issues with 45 and all that. And the things I've said on the show about 45 and all that. But again, I'm paraphrasing what he said, as far as there are people in this movie who have very whacked out ideas, yet treated him, not knowing who he was. In reality, they treated Borat as with kindness and decency, and whatever you want to make out of that. I'll leave that up to you. Again, you have to see the movie, but he had for him to go out of his way to say nice things about the guy, those two individual in particular. It's, even though he knows that they see the world in a very different way than many others, is, it speaks volumes about Sasha as far as going out on the limb to say it, because he could get a lot of flack for that.
Right.
So,
and again, just a reminder, this is the screenshots we are showing are the property of Amazon. So you definitely go do, I mean, if you have Amazon Prime, you get the movie for free. So why on earth would you not watch this?
Again, and then watch it as entertainment. Again, if you're going to look at it, he's bashing Trumpers.
This costume's great, though.
Yes, this costume is great. He is bashing Trumpers throughout the entire movie. He's bashing the alt-right. He's bashing the right. Yes, yes, he is. But if just go into it as entertainment, just if you can realistically take yourself out of that and see the scenarios. And again, it tells such a great story underneath all this stuff that's going on. It tells such a great story about a father and a daughter. And then it has a nice twist at the end. That is really, when he goes back to Kazakhstan, it's really after the Giuliani scene. Yeah, that was really so funny.
And just to touch briefly on what you said, like, this is a scene here where the guys he meets, they believe that they're genuinely trying to get his daughter to not, to save his life.
Yes.
So they talk. If this genuinely happened, these two guys actually, despite their shortcomings, they're trying to help this guy out. So It leads me to believe that he probably lived with these guys for like a week at least.
Yes.
So that's pretty crazy stuff. Okay. So now, the big tamale, as they say in the movie Independence Day. She dolls herself up. And by the way,
because she's training to be a journalist.
Yeah, she's trained to be a journalist. The whole movie, she wanted to be a journalist. And then she left him and became a journalist for something called Patriot Report, I think it was.
Yes, that's correct.
So she had been covering this alt-right move, not alt-right movement, but the March for Our Rights movement, which was not really alt-right per se, though there was a lot of Confederate flags there. But there was African Americans in the crowd there. They did show, so it's probably not a white supremacist event. So then she dolls herself up. By the way, looked like a completely different person than earlier in the movie, and she meets with Rudolph Giuliani.
Mm-hmm.
So this scene, Rudy Giuliani said it's all out of context. It's all that basically he's denying everything.
And again, there's speculation that's gone on. Again, the Hollywood Reporter's review said this scene in question, the reviewer feels that there's a lot of audio editing going on. But, like you said, they start the interview. Sacha Baron Cohen goes into disguise as a sound guy, and tries to interrupt him because he's concerned for his daughter. He's now showing concern for his daughter as part of the story now that Rudy Giuliani might be up to something nefarious. So he goes out and first tries to interrupt him, but she pushes him away. She puts him back into, actually kicks him out of the room, kicks him out of the hotel room and says, "I've got this, Dad, I've got this," because she's willing to go ahead and I guess, try and see if she can sweet talk Rudy Giuliani to some extent. So I guess they go into the bedroom, and I'll let you lead it from there.
Well, I think one of the funny things is that before they even get into the bedroom, they're talking, and it's hard to stop this on a freeze frame exactly where I want it to, but he's dabbing himself off. He gets very nervous. She's also acting very nervous. And he's I don't know. Like I said, again, it's something that you'll have to see to come up with your own opinion. He does a lot of touching with her. He does a lot of flirting with her. He does a lot. She touches
once
him
they
also.
Go into the bedroom, once they go into the bedroom, there's a lot of touching going on.
Even here, though, like even in this scene, he reaches out, he grabs her by her hands, like with both hands, and he's like, "You're doing fine. You're doing fine. You're doing great." And then she'll touch his knee, and then he'll touch her knee, and that sort of thing. Like, is all of that stuff bad? I would say that it's probably not good.
Yeah,
right?
It's definitely not good.
Because I know what a guy looks like when he's thinking, okay, like he would not have done any of that to me. Right? He probably would not have done any of that 90% of women out there, but it was the fact that she was so starstruck by seeing him. I think that
she admitted that several times. "I'm so nervous. I'm so excited to see you," et cetera, et cetera.
Right. So you have to look at this from two different plausible reads. Plausible read number one, is he just being endearing and being like a grandpa type? Or because we say that about Joe Biden, right? So we have to be fair and we have to say, okay, well, maybe that's the case here. Or is he doing it because he's thinking, you know what, maybe sexy time. Maybe you're going to have sexy time. And I think the answer to that is pretty much given to us by what we're about to see here. I'm actually kind of waiting for the stream to load up on me because it's getting a little bit slow, where they get into the bedroom together. So Rudy Giuliani here, let's just be frank with ourselves. I'm going to skip through a couple pieces of this here. He's reaching into his pants here. I don't know what the hell she's doing. I think she looks like she's trying to take off his microphone.
Well, he had touched her lower back,
right,
and also asked for her phone number, and things of that nature. That to me is and then touched right there, that scene where he's touching her on there. As far as he pats
her on the side of her waist, like right above her butt. But he also says, "Well, yeah, give me your phone number and your address," and absolutely. So there's no more Joe Biden plausible read here.
Well, again, he's going to say otherwise. He has said otherwise. He said he was adjusting his pants. I mean, again, people are going to have to watch the film to go ahead and decide for themselves.
You're going to have to watch again. I'm guessing that you've watched this film already. If you have, if you watched this podcast, I hope that you have. But for the audio version, when a man and a woman walk she invites him into the bedroom. So I'm not implying that he did. I don't really believe that Rudy Giuliani did anything illegal here, because he doesn't realize how old she is.
So again, it comes to the point where I have a father of two daughters, and for me, it's very uncomfortable.
Creepy? Yes.
Very creepy.
Illegal? No. But when you're setting yourself, I don't believe that Giuliani has done anything illegal. And it was set up beforehand, just being honest, it was set up beforehand as that Rudy Giuliani was under the impression that she was 15. But he didn't find out that she was 15 or supposed to be 15 until Borat rushes in.
I said she's too old for you.
Right. So, it's a very damning scene for Giuliani, but it's not as damning as I thought it was going to be, because I thought that there was going to be something coming out where she had announced her age to him, and that he, you know, regardless of that, and
that wasn't
regardless,
the case. Yeah,
yeah,
it
that
was
was
said after the scene.
yeah, that was not the case. So again, we're being honest here. It still goes to show though that this guy was, so again, illegal, no, but is it sexual misconduct? Probably. And what I mean by that is this: if you're taking advantage of someone because of your position, that is inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I can't see how he's not taking advantage of her,
No.
or at least hoping that his status as Rudy Giuliani and her starstruckness of being in the room with him is not going to lead to that so-called power dynamic, which I will admit sometimes is blown out of proportion, but for the vast majority of the time, it's extremely appropriate. Okay. And he's clearly doing that here and thinks nothing is wrong with it. So
Yeah.
this is very damning.
But like I said, now that I've had time to think about it, I think your statement in the beginnings that said this will blow over in about a week and everybody on the right will forget about it. And I think that's something that, you know, it speaks for itself.
Well, the problem is with the right's going to be this. It's going to be that they're going to look at it like I did, because I'm honest. And I'll say, look, he probably didn't do anything illegal here. They'll say he didn't do anything illegal. He was going to get laid. So what? Not because they completely dismiss on that side of the aisle. Unfortunately, they completely dismiss the power dynamic part.
Yeah.
Because it's just not something that they subscribe to.
Yeah.
You know, they don't believe that Harvey Weinstein was wrong when he used his position of power to have sex with Scarlett Johansson or Megyn Kelly, or I don't even know if he had sex with them, but made them, you know, spin around and stuff like that.
All the accusations and things he's under trial currently for.
Right.
Put it that way.
So like those things to them aren't a big deal. And we saw multiple other people that Sacha Baron Cohen came in contact with throughout this film who share that mentality. They share that mentality that, you know what, man, your daughter's probably worth $500.
And that's the idea he's bringing about this the entire show, similar to what he did in Borat, where he was bringing out the culture and underlying racism. And that time it was more surprising because people didn't realize, or certain people didn't realize, that there was this underlying theme of racism. And now that it's more overt and out there, it's not as shocking that there's all this divisiveness and hate out there. So that's maybe why it's going to be hit or miss with some people there. But if they stay for the story, they stay for the development of the characters themselves, they stay till the end where he goes back home, where he looks like he does get saved. He does not get put to death. And they go ahead and they find out that
they have the running of the American.
Well, we got to one thing before I go, because I have to head on out here, man.
No, you can.
I will tell you.
This is the end of the movie here. So just your thoughts on this, on like the salvation, so to speak, and then let us know where we can find you.
Well, the coronavirus, it goes first of all, yes, that he was sent over as a guinea pig in the first case, as far as he was sent over as patient zero. Right. To America as the person that was going to infect everybody. So you see the scenes where he, at the end, or flashbacks of him coughing all over everybody, and actually over Tom Hanks. I love the one where he's
that was great.
With Tom Hanks, and he's getting an autograph and coughs all over.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That was cool of Tom Hanks to go ahead and be a part of that. But the ending scene is obviously a synopsis of what many perceive America to be, as far as the running of the American, where it is now totally reversed, and as far as with the running of the bulls, it's now the running of the Karen and also the racist American, and then I guess the fighting off Dr. Fauci with the with the cure for the virus, the vaccine. And that's part. I was laughing at that end scene as far as it's concerned, because it's just totally this take, the Karen, the whole 9 yards. I mean, this is part of the brilliance of that movie and how it wrapped up with him as an equal to his daughter reporting on the running of the American and how it wrapped up, and him finding out in the whole big twist that he was the carrier for the coronavirus and to give America the coronavirus all along was that was the stroke of brilliance on top of it. I mean, very few times does a twist ever get me, and that got me there.
Okay, so as we close out here, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to give you a last word. So, in a nutshell, your rating on the film, I'll tell you right now that on a we'll use scales of 5 on Boys from the Underground, as we do in Haas Humidor. I'm going to give the movie a 3.7. It wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but I did enjoy it, and just the social aspects and political aspects of it just blew me away. Your synopsis on this film, your grade on this film, and then let everybody know about the pop culture cosmos.
It's going to be for me, like I said, for me, this has been a down year for movies, and this is going to be one of the best right now of the year so far. And for me, it's right around 8.8 and 9, to which equates to about 4.4, 4.5 out of 5 stars. The reason being, like I said, it's not the gags that gets you. It's the actual well-written story that's underneath it that gets to me. And the brilliant performance by Maria. She is just truly outstanding and killed it all the way. For me, I am Gerald Glassford. I've got 3 shows out there, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, which, again, Jason is welcome back anytime and did a great part.
I'll come back. Let's go.
There you go. Anytime, man. We go up on Wednesdays, just to let you know. That's when we record. But the show goes up Thursdays and is able to give you a hand on anytime you go ahead and need any advice on fantasy football out there. So me and Chris Ardieri are up there, and hopefully Jason will come by too. That's on, again, anywhere you get your podcast, Inside Sports Fantasy Football. The Lakers Fast Break, we covered the entire NBA playoffs, including the Lakers winning the championship. You want to go ahead and follow us. We're on 2 or 3 times a week with the latest news and information on NBA, plus also as well thoughts on the Lakers and going forward. Want to go ahead and check that out, Lakers Fast Break. And, of course, the big show that I do, it's on worldwide radio on over 35 different stations, plus also as well every podcast outlet. It is the Pop Culture Cosmos channel. We cover the latest news and trends of pop culture each and every Monday and Friday. We drop new episodes. Plus, it's also replayed worldwide on radio 7 days a week, the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining the show. Listener, you can check out Voice from the Underground. Obviously, if you're watching the YouTube channel, please subscribe down below you here. Subscribe to his channel. Whoop.
I can't. Yeah, it's so hard for me.
I can't seem to do it.
It's so hard to do it.
Subscribe to his channel. There we go. The Pop Culture Cosmos on YouTube as well. Also, leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes. It always helps support independent media. You can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/VFU podcast. And do tune into Inside Sports Fantasy Football to hear the latest from the Pop Culture Cosmos show. We'll see you guys in a few days. Happy Halloween, because I won't be on that show. Talk to you soon.
Very nice.
Hey, and by the way,